right, welcome to the podcast. We have Josh, Daniel, and Dustin. You guys mind just giving a brief introduction to yourselves?
Sure. I'm Josh McAllister, and I'm an alumni at Michigan, and I have started uh, studio company out of my house, and also a tech company featuring augmented picture frames. I'm doing two separate ventures, and I have tried to build a community around music and um, transmitting new forms of media. And I've brought a number of my friends along on the journey, including my buddies Daniel and Dusty. Daniel,
Yeah. Hey. I'm Daniel Blanc, and yeah, I'm just like an entrepreneur and designer and musician, and I run like my own private contracting under the DB Media is basically like my little kind of overall umbrella for a lot of the media work and music and stuff that I do, and like event hosting, musician and artist like support, and project management. And then I'm also, as a part of that, helping Josh with some of his kind of entrepreneurial work, getting him, started with different resources, coaching, and just like general like consulting. Um, and as you can hear, he's kind of a busy guy. So with a lot of different ideas, really cool ideas to be developed, and kind of like my role, I feel like, is to better understand and better equip him and enable him, and as a part of me doing my own kind of consulting and really getting to build communities around, especially like creative work. So yeah.
and Dustin's really cool. I love this guy.
He's our health coach. He's our trainer, dietitian.
He got us running this morning.
He kind of keeps us in line every once in a while, and on the straight and narrow.
I'm a barber.
Oh yeah.
He'll clean you up.
And I consider myself a bit of an entrepreneur, but at heart, I really have everybody's best interest in health and well-being. And it's nice to be a part of this project. I started up an Instagram account, and I wanted to be nothing but a benefit to people in this group.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys have a really great team surrounding you guys. And I think we all kind of know, especially since we're all diving into this entrepreneurial journey, that really it's really about the team that comes with you that matters the most. Projects, ideas, and things like that come and go, and you have some successes, you have some failures, but the team is what matters the most, and that's what you remember the most. So maybe dive in a little bit deeper into how y'all met.
So I guess Josh and I were the first to come to meet each other, right?
Yeah, I think it was. I think
because Dustin came in
three
later.
or four, and Dustin came in not too much later, maybe 2.5 years. How long have you been in town, Dustin? Two
Going over 2 years now.
Okay. And I met Daniel
About 3 years ago?
3.5 years ago. Met in a music club, jam club.
Yeah, and we were both like pretty all the hats guys. Both Josh and I think we kind of noticed each other as far as that went. When it came to the music and jamming and that kind of stuff. So, and of course, a place like a jam club, or whatever, like it's very, people bounce ideas off, and it's kind of how it thrives.
I noticed Daniel here; he wasn't afraid to like be himself, and he came into the crowd just wanting to be who he was, and I wasn't gonna stop him, and just brought him on, and he never stopped. And then Dustin and I moved in together in the house.
Yeah, I moved in. I thought Josh was a really friendly dude. We got along right away. He likes to network. He likes to party. He likes to have fun. Seems like a smart U of M educated dude. and Daniel's like right there with him. Both two good, positive, friendly guys.
Hardworking, man. Grit, determination, and
Right.
effort.
Yeah. Yeah, we can totally dive into that.
So,
I know you guys wanted to talk about sort of the qualities of your team and sort of what you embody, the sort of culture that you're building with this grit and determination sort of being the focal points. We can dive into that now. We can also dive into, the products that you guys are creating and the ventures you guys are working on. Just walk us through some of that.
like, I feel like maybe we might want to talk a little bit about the general first, or the product. Kind of explain some of
The general, yeah.
Because the culture, I feel like, might want to mention about that.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, grit and determination is really what makes a entrepreneur strong. Grit being the ability to withstand a lot, and determination, the ability to commit and stay committed, keeps an entrepreneur on the right path. I decided that I have a number of business ventures that are worth committing to, worth dedicating my resources, time, energy, and even some of my friends do too, and it's impeccable. It's amazing. But it takes real grit, it takes determination, and a little bit of reaching out, a little bit of telling people about what you're doing. So my first project is Living Picture Frame, where I have taken picture frames and I have augmented them by putting a chip into them, little chip. I do not have any of them here right now, but with just a simple swipe of your phone, you can access more information about the frame. For instance, I have a kitten photo, a cute little kitten.
It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute.
You swipe your phone against the chip in it, and you can see the chip. It's it's a pretty clear circle.
I mean, it's like about the size of a quarter, right?
And it tells you all about my little kitty. That's kind of cool. Like, hey, look, here's my little cat. It's intended for right now for a number of people, but most specifically people who like to travel or have to travel for work and need to take care of pets while they're not there. And this is a great alternative to a messy babysitter for animals or children too. You can do children. It's important. It's important to take care of animals.
Yeah, and because it helps keep the whoever comes in real organized. You can actually like update any like instructions for them and that kind of stuff. They just whenever they come in, they scan it, and they can kind of we'll link them basically to it's also a gallery, but also like information and data storage, especially just like notes and that kind of stuff. And it allows like the physical picture frame to become like this little like portal to worthwhile data and specific data, kind of linking the physical world and the digital world in a more focused way. Yep. And especially for like pet owners and that kind of stuff, they can keep everything in one place. They can update it from like their phones or wherever, and then having that kind of communication, but still having it like localized. And we really hope that this kind of marrying of the digital and physical might attract crowds who might not like technology in practice. Like the idea of it, seems like a good idea, but like there's a lot of people out there who get very, very frustrated with their technology. And this kind of helps to make it, personal again, in HP words, right?
The main thing I'm trying to do is the world's a very messy, cluttered place. I mean, people leave trash all over the place. People don't clean up after themselves. The world's messy, and the digital world is a reflection of it. It's also messy. It's cluttered. Information's everywhere, and we have no place to store it.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to set out a way and other ways to store all that digital material to the object that it actually belongs to. And I'm starting with picture frames. I'm moving to trading cards. I'm
like
moving
booklets.
to.
There's any number of ways that we were thinking, and we were actually again looking at some of the technology that we were focusing on with the product, and starting with like just a few maybe types of products, real simple, and then extending that to maybe future applications. I mean, for example, kind of like and again, the feel of this is almost like tap to pay. It's like the kind of a feel with your cell phone and that kind of stuff, just like real simple interface interaction, that kind of stuff, like pushing a button with your phone, and then also using that for other applications, that individual tech for different applications, including like document storage. We have like binders and binders, or like the legal folders, just all kinds of record keeping and that kind of stuff, trying to declutter the physical space as well as the way that we interact with media, which again, and I'm a media entrepreneur. So like when it comes to this, my focus is I want to make data better and more human and more like worthwhile, and so I kind of get to help Josh with this project in support of my own, values and goals and stuff.
So the pitch is, I wanted to advertise a little bit because I think this is a nice little product that I designed. It doesn't make too much sense unless you actually see the prototype and you take your phone and you swipe over and you're like, instant data transfer. It's pretty cool. Automates things, it shortcuts your phone. Once people start seeing it, it makes a lot more sense. I just want to help basically elderly people advance their life a little bit by making some of that digital stuff less hectic for them and easier, like touch of the thing.
Also, you can't like just delete it, how things just kind of disappear, like kind of bringing the physical back.
So my other company is I want to make music. That's the real reason I've built a studio here, is to make music, and I want to make a lot of music, and I want to reinvent the way we transmit music.
Yeah.
Basically, my idea is taking posters or albums, such as this, and adding the same chip technology to it, so I can go and sell my music to people and have a digital and physical copy in kind of like a new vinyl type deal. That's what I want to do.
That interaction, because like once upon a time, we'd go and actually buy, the music that we would consume. And kind of what happens now with like streaming and stuff is you don't actually buy it, and so like you don't even make that choice, but also you don't even have like that record of what you invested in. You
don't have the physical album. Like I can take this album and put it on my wall if I wanted to. I want to bring that back to the music world.
It's personal.
And all the information that's important to the album is on the back of it, and I want to recreate that experience, but kind of through the same technology. It's the same physical touch as the living picture frame, just pitched to a different audience.
And so, were you talking about anything else music-wise? Or maybe just that?
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build a way I could actually distribute my music and not have to, suffer the current physical.
Well,
let's
just be honest, right? Because like, especially in like,
you're not gonna make much money
with streaming and just the way that, especially like, I feel like most people consume music these days, and like the way that they do it is not sustainable for artists. It's not very personal. Like in my opinion, like it's very business and like kind of like factory like to me sometimes. And for me, I'm big on communication. Like the reason I care about media is because I care about communication. And when I feel like what I'm hearing is not like speaking to me or whatever, and when I feel like so many voices either get like amplified to the point of canon or stifled to the point of just not being there at all, and it's like it's very important to me that voices get out there, and I really like that Josh was focusing on really getting a voice out there that wasn't just the same. I mean, I think you know, you go at the green light when it turns green, you know. If light doesn't change, if nothing changes, people don't move, you know, and they need to see a little change. They need to see that like artistic variation that tells them that like, hey, this is relevant. This is a mark, you know, like this is a record, you know.
And that is the goal, the record, the music. I want to sell records. I've always wanted to. You know, my idols are people like Rick Rubin of Def Jam Records, Barry Gordy, Amit Ertegun. These are big names. These are guys who sold records and made millions and millions of dollars doing it, and they did what they love. And they mixed, they mastered, they trained, they crafted, they inspired. I mean, they built a community.
But also, like those voices, I feel like a lot of what came out of their natural like cultures was, I don't know. I feel like it spoke to a lot of people.
But starting it is not easy, and we get all these ideas and we get so inspired. We're like, yes, this is going to happen. And it's great, but sometimes it isn't, and you fail, and you fail miserably, and have to accept the responsibility for the failure because it's your project, and it hurts at the end of the day. To get back up, that is strength, but to do that every day is grit.
Maybe it's like a seed, you know, like a seed you put in the dirt and then you water it, and it's like, what are the chances it's even going to sprout up? And then it sprouts up a little bit, and it's like you got to really be sensitive and careful with it. And then once it gets to a certain level, it just almost takes care of itself. You just got to throw water at it every once in a while.
It rains.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like that grit and determination, especially, I love the analogies of like seeds and like growing things. Like some of my most inspiring like entrepreneurs and stuff that I know just have like a great appreciation for growth and like sustainability and like gardens, basically things that don't need in the words of a Protestant pastor, they don't need hammer power versus seed power. And when I think of like music and art and entrepreneurship, I think of like creativity and like kind of like ingrowing kind of energy and excitement and stuff. And the thing about like a seed is like it's growing, like it's not just moving someplace, it's going there, you know, and like it goes through, you know, like usually like a layer of dirt and stuff, you know, it's got to be like buried basically,
nutrients,
and it feeds off of what's around it, and it's living, and it's like, you know, interacting with what's going on, and it's a different kind. It's just a different kind of power of energy, and I always wanted to reflect that instead of in just art, but also in things like business, you know, and like what if businesses look like gardens? Because honestly, when I look at businesses, I think of gardens. When I think of a business thriving, I think of, you know, a bunch of like healthy plants, you know, photosynthesizing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but the thing is that we're talking about grit and determination, because you need to have, especially like when we're talking about plants, they need to know where they're going, and they have, you know, that drawing the energy from the seeds and the stores and that kind of stuff is like how they kind of power through what's going on. And, you know, obviously a plant, while it's in the ground or whatever, you know, you can't even see it, you know, and so people will look at that and they won't see what's coming, you know, and they won't see that in a couple of days, you know, there's something coming. And but with determination, right?
Mm-hmm. So grit and determination are often thought of in the entrepreneurial mind as the same thing. Like grit and determination is what it takes, but they're quite different. Because you can have grit without determination. You can get pushed down a number of times, but not be destined to go anywhere. You know, you can be resilient without having strength. And I think dedication is what it takes. As an executor, as the head of a company, you have to make decisions in complete decisions. You can't leave decisions unfinished, because when you show up to the market and you're not prepared, you can hurt. But if you don't go, that is ineffective as a leader. That means you have not at least dedicated. But grit means you come back and you come back better the next time. I've already decided as a business person that I'm going to take some of my ideas to market, but now it takes the grit to get it even better, because we might go 4, 5, 10, 12, 30 times and not be 100% ready for everything. And we might get our butt kicked some days, but grit, you get back up and you dedicate yourself to keep coming back and reestablishing yourself. And in its own form, it becomes advertising. Now people start knowing who you are. You've built a culture. You've introduced yourself to the community.
I feel like so many things are communicated through conflict and failure, and I feel like those are some of the times when, especially as like human beings, we get to see ourselves, we get to see each other, and especially in like a business sense, you don't always have to call certain things, what you originally determined them to be. And what I mean by that is like, it's like you are your own like accountant as far as, your success and how you're actually going to see the value that you're creating in that. And so why not look at things like failure as like, actually, you were met up with this interface, and a lot of failure has to do with expectations of different parties, right? So like when you find you're up against those expectations and you're not meeting them, like you could look at it as failure, or you see it as this: I put myself out there, I was in the market, you know what I mean, and I was met with resistance. It's like you're getting ground down. It's like that friction with sandpaper. Why do they call it 80 grit? Because it's coarse, man. And you get changed in the process. Like whatever's being ground is going to get changed. It's going to get polished. It's going to get smooth and more into its like true form. And again, what is that to me? That's like poetic accounting. That's like, okay, you see this failure, now go out and claim that it's going to be, this is my iteration, and suddenly you transform it, and then like you have this way of propelling yourself forward in a way that your failures are just when you met yourself up with those expectations, and any audience of those expectations, is going to see that, and like your failure can actually be that moment of being seen, because without being seen, some of the expectations are just kind of in your mind, but when you're able to put something out there in market, and again, it can be a product, it can be a solution, it can be an idea, like all these different things, especially in the business sense, a product of sorts, or a service of sorts, and then to be repeatedly met with, no, sorry, Edison, or, like this light bulb doesn't work.
Sorry, Edison, you didn't build it right. I can't use this.
And yet each of those iterations is, a chance for one of his designs to, or one of his ventures, or whatever you want to call it, one of his iterations get met up with those expectations, and, something is gained. There's a value there. And it's not, oh, I failed. It's in some ways almost like a celebration of that movement in the first place towards those goals, and again, as I said, like, okay, that takes determination to get through all these iterations, and yet, especially when we talk about like design work and stuff, so many people are like saying, oh, we failed the requirements or something, instead of like, oh, now we better understand the requirements. We communicated back, like they gave us this problem, we gave them this solution, and then we found out that like the problem they were trying to solve is not what we solved, you know? And so again, there's another spot where you got like these designers maybe working with some you know, company contracting them out. And you can see that like, oh, no, that was just a communication. That was just a like, hey, this is who we are, this is where we are, you know? And what happens is you have this better communication through some of that conflict and, you know, the even failure, right? Is like, I see it as just like a really ripe ground for communication. But again, there's still something missing from that because you can fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, and everyone's going to call you a fool. You know, especially when it comes to music. Like, how many times I've been told, like, don't quit your day job, which I haven't. You know, like, and that's the funny thing is like everyone has this expectation of what it means to be a designer, to be a musician, to be a young professional, or you know, and what they miss out on is that like you know, it's
it's not easy. It's hard. You got to get back up and suck up and take it on every day.
But again, you can still fail with that because if you don't have the determination to get and realize your vision, then you're never going to evolve. And when you hit those failures, you're never going to pivot. You're never going to reach out. You're never going to change. But instead, you know, it can be that you find a way to jump over, you find a way to go around, you know, and what that meets you up with is that deeper communication, deeper ideas, and better design in the long run of things. And again, talking about determination, we got the grit. It's that like brute, you know, will to grind through, right? But then the determination is about where you're going. And
Nice hand gesture.
you know where you're going, because if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to see any of the other paths. You know, once you hit this failure, you're not going to be able to see the other paths. But having that determination and knowing what your goal is, going out to claim this goal, you know, then you start to see, oh, there are other paths to get there, you know, and me failing today is actually putting me in a place to know which paths not to take, or is there value in going out and looking for other pathways, other ideas, other products, you know, other business partners, etc. You know, it's all kinds of things. But those two together, having that will to just, you know, versus or in addition to that direction to know, you know, like where's the goal, you know, and again, through failure, continuing to communicate and dialogue with those outside you, those who have expectations for you, those who have an outside eye on you, you know, all these ways that communication lets people know where you are, who you are, you know, and in a way, it's like a great catalyst for communicating you and communicating your company, your products, and that, and getting to, you know, your goals, basically.
You guys are very clearly passionate. That is something that's like come across very clearly to me since I met you guys. You know, Josh and I have known each other for actually many years now. We lived on the same floor our freshman year at Michigan. And so we've known each other for years, and it's been really interesting for me to see Josh's evolution, because he's always been interested in music, and it was so, I guess, surprising to me just to see, like, when we reconnected this past year after like 4 years of not really talking that much. We had one instance in the library where we ran into each other, but just to see how this switch flipped for Josh, where he was like, I don't want to work for corporate America. I don't want to go and do all these things. I want to make money and sustain myself. And then I want to do something. And like, yeah, I want to create the life that I want to live rather than having somebody else tell me. And I can see that resonates with you guys as well. And I think the story of what you guys are doing is also very interesting. Like clearly you guys are on the same page with vision. Clearly you guys bring different skill sets.
A lot of time with that vision. We're still working on it.
Yeah, it's an evolution.
It's important. It's very central. Yeah.
It's an evolution. You guys have a good relationship, and it's a multifaceted one, and that's something that's very inspiring. What I think is really cool about what you're doing is that while you are so determined and you've been practicing this grit and building up that thick skin as entrepreneurs, and being able to go out there and hear people say no and actually like go and like try and sell things. Josh and I talked about this earlier, actually going and trying to sell the prototype right before it's even perfect, just seeing like testing the waters. um, you guys have learned by doing. I don't know what your entrepreneurial education is. I'd be interested to talk more about that. Is like, where have you learned how to do these things? Because from the outside perspective, I can see that you guys are doing what entrepreneurs like before entrepreneurship was cool were doing, which is like, all right, we have an idea, let's go build it and sell it. Or let's go to a thrift shop and buy something and flip it. Like you guys are those types of entrepreneurs, but you've been smart about it because you haven't spent that much money per se, right? You haven't spent a ton of money on developing something, just time. And you guys also have like jobs where you're actually making money. So I think the approach you guys are taking is awesome. And I'd be curious to know more about that entrepreneurial education, because it sounds like a lot like you guys are learning by doing. And I want to add one more point here that was really interesting to me. I told Josh when we were talking about like him, a Maximize sort of helping with these two projects with the living picture frame and the records. I was like, we're developing 12 modules to help any team get from 0 to 1, right? And literally the next day, Josh texts me saying, we've completed all 12. I'm like, well, we haven't even developed all 12 yet. We're in the process of developing one. And I just found it so amazing, like just that grit and determination, right? To just be like, screw it, I'm gonna learn everything I can and start like plugging, chugging, and trying. And that's so inspiring to me and to hopefully other teams as well who are listening.
Yeah. Oh, I was on the clock for that. I was getting two things done at once.
Yay, government work.
Yay, government work.
Yay, government work. It's paving the way for entrepreneurship.
Well, time is a precious resource.
Hey,
that served as a roadmap toward potential success, and it just made sense when we looked at all the steps. This is
well, what did we do? We literally rode in. I jumped in your car.
Yep.
Yeah, because he was road tripping for some job or whatever. He's like, hey, come along, we'll talk as I'm driving. And I mean,
we just took them point by point.
Boom, boom, boom.
What ideas do you have here? This kind of, because he knew a lot about like the nitty and gritty about the topics.
Well, yeah, I had some.
From me just right to get some of the answers out.
I looked at the Spark notes. I had a little bit. I had a little bit of a refresher, but no, I actually took a course in front end design, and what it's all about is just basically like it's the planning, but not just planning, but really digging in to the entry of that idea as a design or whatever, and trying to just deep dive it, benchmark it. We write a lot of this stuff up on our walls because we just want to get ideas out there, and get things iterated even before we have any design. And that's like in that front end, having a lot of like divergent thought, a lot of ideation and stuff where you're gathering all these little ideas, and then you start to get to this creative process where you start throwing out. You're like, nah, I don't like that one. Ooh, that's pretty. Like we're gonna keep that one. And it really enhances the design before it even exists, basically. And this is what I learned in this like front end design course, which also had a really deep root in psychology and making things personal personal and communicative, basically like infusing design with communication. And so I had this background. I was already passionate about this because honestly, it had made me realize that there's like, I think I want to do what they do in this, these design methods and stuff, and how people like this design.
So how close was the 12 steps of Ryan's Maximize Plan? Like how close was that to the design process of your course?
Yeah, so for my course, I think it was probably like 8 steps, but everything on that list that was on the 12 steps was somehow something I had seen before. Like I recognized it. I was like, yes, like this is intuitive to what I remember.
User persona.
Yeah, like even just like using things like storytelling and role playing to like figure out customer interactions, and I was like, yes, and you design for one, extend to many, like all of these different things that were kind of built in. And again, it's like at that time we didn't even have a design, and we realized that we're like, oh, what we're actually trying to do wasn't what we had initially asked as like a problem statement, and this is kind of where the 12 steps come in, is just like, how do you deep dive? How do you get to the like core of what you're doing? And, we boiled it down. Sorry if you can hear me. With the living picture frame, we went through the 12-step process, checking it out and looking out a little bit. Our problem statement became that we would like to develop a technology design to display.
It's the top one.
And link information for users.
And link information for users. That's
real quick. That problem statement, to me, I haven't had a chance to go through your 12 steps with you. I think offline, off the podcast, we should definitely do that and spend a couple hours digging in deep together. That problem statement that you just told me sounds to me more like a value statement. And that's totally cool. You need that also. What I've been hammering on Josh is a problem statement. What problem does this solve, right? You mentioned a demographic of old folks, right? And wanting to make the technological experience of memories more accessible, more usable for this demographic, right? So the question then becomes, what problem are you trying to solve? If it's accessibility, right?
The problem is that the digital world is messy. The real world is messy. Everything is always messy, cluttered, and we actually have a lot of digital information that's just as messy as our room, just stored blankly on the computer. And I wanted to figure out a way where I can eliminate some of just the gross amount of content I have to individual objects in my room and have that kind of like the information hub. Even though it's still in the cloud, it's got all the information stored here at a touch of an access. Stuff that would take me, like I would forget while I'm trying to enter it in my phone, but at a simple touch, it could be real quick. Otherwise, it'd be like 8 taps and type in YouTube and remember. I don't even remember any of that. I can just touch my phone now, and I have an instant cleansing of all the clutter. Now I can isolate and cultivate the real media.
Another thing is that the beginning of that sentence is a little deceiving because it does start. You're right. It starts with "we would like," but if you chop that off, it makes a little bit more sense when it says like develop a technology to display, underline, and link information. Displaying and linking information is the need.
That's the core value prop, right? So
that's,
you can.
That's the problem. Yeah, it's the need that was being expressed by the clutter of information and the digital and physical connection.
Yep. You guys are totally on the right track. So how might you word it if you were to turn it into a problem statement, right? So Josh had the first part of it, which is the digital world is messy. And then the reason why they're going to be turning to you guys, the living picture frame, is because you make this digital world um, less messy by displaying information, right? And having it interact with both the technological and material world, right? So that would be more, I think that aligns with a problem statement. The digital world is messy. Boom. That's your problem statement. And then the value is you guys make it less messy by making information accessible, displayable, right? Um, we can dive more into it
Yeah. So
offline.
yeah, let me. The problem statement. That's just our central value statement, like you said. Like the full problem statement that we write out has that context and background, which is, the inherent problem, and then that value statement followed by constraints. So we didn't
Exactly.
talk about constraints and that kind of stuff with like
Yeah.
what that problem is, right? But that is, yeah, like the central value statement. To clarify, that's not the full like problem definition, basically.
So
Right.
here's a good analogy. So at the end of the day, you've had a long day at work, and you take off your shirt and you throw it where? Well, you throw it well, you could throw it on your couch. The proper place is into the laundry bin. There's a natural place to store material when you're done with in a designated spot. We're saying there's value and a potential problem to be solved when we start doing that with our digital materials, start storing it on physical objects. I mean,
Yeah.
problem is, otherwise it's lost in the cloud. You'll never find it. You'll scroll through Facebook. You'll scroll through, your media feeds.
Where's the bin? I can't find the bin.
Where's the bin? And I'm saying the bin should be on your wall and easy access to your phone. Instant drop. Boop. Drop.
Well, that's what I'm so fascinated about with this idea, is because it seems like it could be a low-tech solution. Because to me, what it sounds like is there's a lack of trust in the digital cloud, right? Because what happens if you stop paying for all that memory, right? In Google Drive, well, Google Drive is mostly free, you pay for extra, right? So what happens if your Dropbox and your cloud data and all of that just like gets wiped, right? Let's just say catastrophic information wipe. If everything is located on the cloud, what happens to all those sensitive memories and information? They're gone. So
gone, but also gone from your brain's access.
exactly.
Flag anymore either,
Exactly. You guys are definitely onto something. What I'll encourage you guys to do is do more customer discovery. Maximize is currently doing a lot of customer discovery. We doubled the size of our team just for this sole purpose. I'd like to talk more about Josh, your experience today actually going out and selling prototypes, because that's something that a lot of people don't do. They get so caught up in the development of their technology thinking, oh, what we have is going to change the world. Everyone's going to want to buy it. But what teams that do that, and this is a lot of like technical people do, is they do that and then they spent thousands of dollars developing something that nobody wants and nobody will pay for, and it doesn't solve any problems. So I think what you're doing, Josh, is amazing. You're actually going out and trying to sell something as rudimentary as a picture frame that you have customized with like a picture and like this little microchip that you guys have got on there. It's so simple, and yet you went out and tried to sell it, and I think that is magical. Can you maybe tell us more about that experience and what that was like today?
Yeah, it was
something.
I love trial by fire. As much as everybody else hates it, I love throwing myself into the ring and seeing how it goes. You can develop a little bit. We took at least functional prototypes to a market, engaged people's interest. We weren't necessarily in a position today to sell. I wouldn't have been happy today to sell in its current state outside of a little side project. But we saw exactly where we were at, where we could go in order to complete some sales. We weren't quite there.
Walk us through that. Walk us through those learnings, right? What are the next steps for you guys? Let's talk about a week, like a week out, a month out, a year out. What is that progression that needs to happen for you guys to get to where you want to go?
Start with the year out. Eventually, I want to have my own app and user interface. That's where the real value is going to come in, because our current tech alternative, we're using other people's applications. They're messy, they're difficult. They have us just like, I mean, he's a little better than I, but even so, it's still sometimes like, it's as cluttered and messy sometimes as our actual world. And what? I'm losing my train of thought, but.
Let's just say, walking through like that process for us, you know, you're right. Like we did take this kind of like rudimentary, like kind of IDO kind of like, you know, let's just get something to communicate. Our goals when we went, you know, out into the market and stuff were actually very simple. Like we were trying to get customer interest, you know, get people interested in what it was that we were even doing or selling and stuff. And then, you know, try to make at least one sale, you know?
Yeah, the numbers were, I think there were about 100 passerbys, and I think maybe 15 of them stopped and talked for more than 10 seconds.
Well, I don't know, because like we had like, after about half hour of being set up, I had already had like at least 4, you know, decent, you know, pitch conversations and that kind of stuff. And
we had 8 to 10, maybe like really good ones where they're like, you guys got something. This is something good here. It's not ready today, but this is something good here.
Yeah.
Very good.
So in three months from now, I want to be able to close that gap entirely. Just be able to.
Well, yeah, because let's just put in perspective. We sold none.
We sold 0.
We sold 0. And I was looking at Josh and I was like, I'm pretty happy with like what I did today.
We extracted non-monetary value.
Oh, so much. And like I said, it was like that failure. You see me? Sorry. Oh, okay. You know, it's sorry. That's just like a little testament to our team right there. It's like, yeah, we sometimes
happy spirits.
Happy spirits.
He keeps us grounded. Otherwise, we're in the clouds.
You know, but back to our goals, right? So we set out to make these customer interactions, right? And you were talking about customer discovery. Yeah, like we are literally kind of grassroots some of it to get some ideas. So many people jump into like statistical modeling and stuff like that, like really quickly. I'm more of, I want to go talk to people, you know? I want to see like what their take is on some of this, and see who's interested, see what it is they're interested in. Like we had a weird conversation that was a tangent from our project, but there was this, you know, a little bit older guy who was expressing kind of some distastes for certain technology, but he liked what we were doing. And he actually started a conversation about GPS tracking and how he would have liked if we had been selling GPS tracking, which was a tangent, but like we started to learn about like, okay, what is some of this need that we're like, you know, is being expressed that we were responding to, you know, with the technology clutter, especially, and then linking the digital and the physical, right? And so, yes, we made that first goal, which was, you know, those customer interactions, getting people interested in what we had. And the second part was just about trying to make that sale. And what we found out was we didn't sell any. And you know, there's a number of different ways that you can look at it. I'm not trying to do like, okay, causation, correlation, that kind of stuff. Like, there was a number of things that contribute to that success or failure. But coming forward from it, we can be like, okay, well, this is where we're at. You know, like this is where we're at. We cannot sell things. They're not ready. A lot of these weren't ready for market, that kind of stuff. And yet this like kind of being met up against that.
It's so close.
You know, and so many people like they want to do a design review, and that kind of stuff, or gate, you know, sorry, like a gate review and stuff. and they're like really nervous to share their ideas. And we're like, no, we want to share our ideas and learn more and dive deeper into them, and get that dialogue and feedback going, so that we start, like, as we're doing more like research and stuff, we'll be able to figure out where to navigate. Like, we're kind of like pinging right now.
Yeah. So for the next month, we will be working on finishing a couple more prototypes for different directions that it can go, different tangents, which directions that we think we can feasibly go. We will need to complete customer profiles so that it's ready for the customer upon transaction. That'll probably take a month, maybe less. We can get it done quicker. But I want to make sure that I'm comfortable giving a customer a copy of what we have developed for them to use. And that's the big issue, is we had the prototype on our end, good for us, but we did not build anything ready for them to take on their way. So when I say over the next 3 months, it needs to go from us to, let's start bringing people in to start, let's see where they go with this idea. Maybe somebody does an entire like baseball card catalog and they want to commission us out to complete it for them. Say like, this is this person, I bought it this day. You get some food?
But yeah, I mean, again, with the we're in the midst of a lot, and it's sometimes like we're building the plane as it's taking off on the runway. What's up?
Got an idea.
Maybe
I should patent it. Maybe somebody should take the idea and run with it.
What's wrong?
I'm just saying, like Facebook, virtual reality, Rockstar video game, and just connect it all.
Yeah.
Boom.
Great.
Like we're like here, like right now. Just put on the goggles. Like,
yeah. That's an interesting idea.
Anyways,
I have a love-hate relationship with tech, but I love tech ideas, and part of building this kind of culture around here. Any idea is a good idea until it's like, well, maybe it's not so good an idea, but all ideas are appreciated, man. Invite them in, challenge them properly. But,
I think some
these
people
guys are good. I don't hurt them.
I think some people like to think that design is like this like linear path, and it's really not. I mean, we can make it that way if we really want to, but I've found out from my own trial and error that a lot of times that kind of linear path towards ideas or goals or design, that kind of stuff, is it doesn't give you this kind of like divergence and convergence that can lend itself to like, well, why wasn't that a dumb idea?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, well, it's because we're actually diverging. We're at a point of divergence, and we're exploring. We're exploring, and like, if we don't put resource into that, or if we don't value that divergent thinking, we will actually hinder a lot of our convergence from like projecting onto this, best way or best design or
And Dusty's ideas is still kind of cool. It's like, yeah, that'd be cool. We'll just go wherever. Can we go to Florida right now? Can we get some sun rays kicking in? That'd be good. That'd be ideal. The tanning bed.
Throw frisbee.
Right. Oh yeah.
But I learned this from like listening to my favorite DJs, that like the cadence of ideas, like getting ideas from over here, it can create different interactions, and like depending on like how they have their juxtaposition, and like when we add new ideas or different ideas into the process, some people are like, oh, that's a distraction. But no, I'm thinking like, oh, what if we like, by analogy, because I love analogous thinking, like whereas like VR for Facebook or multi-platform games and stuff like that, what if we married those two together and applied it to our picture frame, so that like how they have like the VR for your phone, like what if we married that together and had the picture frame would scan to like a VR headset, so that you could like relive, you know, some different like digital memories or stuff like that, you know, or digital shared experience and stuff like that. So
there's plenty of potentials. Like we want to be able to create an atmosphere where we can bring that all together. And I've decided to take a certain route through a tech venture that would try to bring a lot of those together. I don't personally want to get too involved in the tech world. I don't want to be a Mark Zuckerberg. I don't want to be a Jack Dorsey. I don't want to be those guys that I feel like are censoring and hiding voices or spying on people in weird ways. I want to be just an enabler. I love the low tech idea, because that's really what this is. This is a low tech alternative to either a boring physical product or an expensive digital one. So I'm looking for the low tech alternatives, and that's really what I've dedicated this picture frame and this album making company around, toward really doing that. But every day, you know, you have to get up and do it again and again and again. And it's difficult because not every day is good. Not every day is great. Some days there's a silver lining. At the end of the day, you have to get up again and decide to go and finish the plan. So like right now, we need to close the gap between us and the consumer. Right now, that's the next mountain we got to climb. Is we got to cut the gap between us and our user, because if we can make the user experience easy, that's it. And if we can advertise that properly to them, we have
even this experience right now is us like advertising our ideas, like our vision and where we're headed and our design. So like even just this right now for us is some of that kind of ability to use our presence to project our values, our, you know, our the way that we do business. And
we got something going on.
I mean, like, and that's the thing is like, you know, if we are present to people like that, it's good guacamole, by the way. If we are present to people like that, it will naturally have that synergy and that energy to grow inside, to have that vision and determination to sprout that seed. You know, it's just, I love the garden analogies. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
you guys, what's up?
I think we've covered it all. Water all the plants.
Do we water them? We got two in here.
What you guys have going on is really awesome, and the energy and the synergy you guys have definitely shines through, even through digital technology and, you know, like Zoom communication. I would love to sit down with you guys offline, or maybe online again, and just dive into this deeper with you guys, help you guys out more. What I want to leave you guys with today, because we're going to finish up this podcast and maybe invite you guys to come on again, is a couple of things. So the first one is the rule of 10. And the rule of 10 is such that if you want to reach one person, you have to reach out to 10. If you want to sell to one person, you have to reach out to 100. So just that rule of 10, keep that in mind as you go down this journey. And what I would recommend is, as you continue down this path, I would spend all of your efforts in customer discovery. Maybe doing those multiple prototypes, you know, talking to customers, painting a story about how they might use it, and then talking to those customers, getting that feedback. And it's going to start to inform the vision and the direction as you start to draw inferences. Another thing I wanted to share with you guys is, as a follow-up, I will send you guys some of the content that we've developed to help you guys through customer discovery. We have a couple of worksheets. We have a couple of like value prop and like different like fill in the blanks that you guys can plug and chug with your own product and team. And I hope that will help you guys more. And then the final thing I want to leave you guys with is that we love having you guys be a part of, you know, our journey as well. Like you guys joining the alliance and Maximize has been incredible. We love that you show up to Real Talk, how engaged you are. The passion is there. And as much as you have invested in us, we want to invest back into you guys. So just keep bringing that energy to us and we'll send it right back to you. And, we bet on the team, we bet on the players, right? Not necessarily the idea. The idea changes and evolves as you iterate and get feedback. So we bet on you guys. We love you guys. And I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to come on the podcast. And we'll definitely have to film another one as well.
Awesome, Ryan. Thanks for having us.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. And do you want to make maybe a final plug if you guys want to mention your Instagrams or maybe a website or anything like that?
This guy right here, Dustin Brief.
We have an IG. It's called Super Dope and Chill. Come check us out.
Ding, 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 ding.
Super Dope and Chill. We're early on, but we're going to be greater and better and expanding, like you said, reaching out to 10, 100 people and so on. We're the best at what we do, and what we do is unique.
Godspeed.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much for joining the podcast, and good luck. We'll have another chat soon.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right, peace and love. Take care, you guys.
Godspeed.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Maximize podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the thumbs up to like this video and comment your thoughts below. If you'd like to see more episodes just like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to be notified immediately when new episodes are released. We'd love for you to become an ally. To become an ally, click the join link and answer our simple 2-question survey. To learn more about the perks of becoming an ally, visit our website at MaximizeMI.org. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, submit the podcast request form, also linked in the description below. We'll see you in the next episode.